Hello and welcome back to Where Are All My Friends? Doing a best of episode this week because every now and then I'll record a series of episodes and there will be such good little gems.
I mean, I was Josh Safdie's muse when he wrote Uncut Gems.
Right.
And I don't want them to get missed. I understand that even myself, I can't keep up with all my favorite podcasts and catch every episode. And every now and then I get these little clips from like, damn, that was special. And I want to make sure they get the attention they deserve. So here we are with a quick best of episode. And I also kind of like the idea of doing shorter episodes every now and then. Sometimes I don't have time for an hour, so I figure if I don't, maybe you don't. I don't know. Let's give it a try. As always, let me know if you like them. But let's get into this. The first episode is with a dear friend of mine, Loren Wells. He's a music lawyer and an overall super bright, super smart person. He came on the podcast in 2020 to talk about how to get signed, and then came back onto the podcast in 2022 to talk about how to get signed, but also how much has changed just in those 2 years in the industry. So in this clip, he talks about the difference between being an artist and a musician, and really just how different that is and how that can affect your career, but more in a positive light where you can use that to your advantage. So let's get right into it.
To be an artist today is not just to play music.
No, it's not.
To be an artist today is to be on TikTok, to be on Instagram, to know how to make that content too.
Yeah.
And this is a thing that I don't want to sound offensive, but there's a difference to me now between an artist and a musician.
Wow.
And an artist is someone who does all of those things. The art of the music industry now is not just music, it is who your public persona is. And sometimes it's you don't say shit, but that has to somehow be your persona and you have to make that work.
Yeah.
And I don't think I had that. I was a musician. I played music.
You'd get on a stage, you'd fucking rip. You'd look great doing it, but that's what that was.
And today, it is very difficult to succeed as a musician.
Wow.
You have to be an artist. You have to be the whole package. And it's not about faking the funk. It is about finding the real connections with your fans, having a voice that is distinct. Like, look, if you, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but if you're a band that sounds like all the bands that came before you, or maybe even a combination of 2 or 3 of them, but I can say, oh, that's where you sound like this band, it's probably going to be harder for you. You have to have something unique to bring to the table. And that's what we see with most of our artists that are successful is they're saying something in a new way. They're saying something in a unique way. They're connecting with their fans. They know how to interact with their fans. We have a client who just started, really growing very organically, never got playlisted, never got shouted out by big artists, just started growing and growing. And I'd sit there and listen to him talk about how he learned how you could never mention Spotify in your TikTok post. And he would wait until he had a certain number of comments, then go in and comment on every one of them, because then that would be at one time a big boost and that would lead to algorithmic something. And then he'd wait at a certain point. Then he'd start going back in and telling them to go to Spotify, because at that point he'd reach the numbers he knew that he could then do. And I was just sitting there and I was like, how did you... And anyone who knows about this stuff is probably like, Loren, you're describing all of that wrong. But guess what? That's not my job. So
I mean, I'm hearing it and I'm like, Jesus, fuck, that's smart. Like,
no one taught him that.
Yeah.
He's an artist.
Yeah.
And he just did it. He's like, I want to reach fans. I want to grow fans. And he started seeing what worked. Oh, that video on TikTok didn't get the number of plays and hearts and whatever you call them as the other one did. And he just saw it and he just made it work. And in 2022, that's what an artist is. And that is simultaneously, as I said, a blessing and a curse. Some people don't want to do that. They just want to write the music. And this is not really anymore the industry for them.
All right, this next clip is with Caterina Nasr, and she is an A&R at Elektra and Fueled by Ramen. And she's had a really cool come-up story in her career, but this specific moment that we're gonna go to is her talking about how much easier life and her career got when she really started owning who she was and her truths and just being herself. And that sounds like such a cliche, but the way she explains it and how she then applied that to her career and really how much that opened up for her when she did so was really beautiful. So let's get right into that.
My whole career changed when I started owning where I actually came from.
Wow.
When I started talking about my fangirl past, when I started talking about where my parents were from, those things that make me me, like it changed my whole perspective on how I look at artists and music and how I talk to people. Like it really opened my eyes. And, that day I was like, I want to work for you. He was like, came back to me 3 days later and was like, here's the job offer. So signed an offer with him to be his assistant at I want everyone to understand this. Atlantic Records, Elektra Records, an imprint of Atlantic with, I think he had 11 artists on the label, which was an imprint within Atlantic. And he worked the entirety of the Ed Sheeran project. So I was like, oh my God, I'm like,
This is it.
This is great. What a great, like, easy stepping stone into a label system, right? Like working for an imprint, working with one of my favorite artists of all time. This is amazing. I sat with him on the phone before, you know, I really accepted the job. And I was like, I want you to know, like, I know you kind of do this like curated Americana singer-songwriter alternative thing, which is what Elektra was at the time mostly. But I want to sign a boy band one day. And I want to sign Shawn Mendes. And I want to work with pop music. Is that a lane that will be carved out for me here?
Whoa, cool.
Basically, like, will I be able to sign stuff to Atlantic?
Right.
Was essentially the question. And or like, do you want to expand Elektra? And he goes, no, that's great. I'm going to need that. And at the time I was like, it's a weird way to say that. But okay. I wanted to clarify once again what I wanted, because I don't want to compromise what I wanted. I wanted to be able to work with like big pop stars one day and do that kind of stuff. I take the job, a couple months go by. I'm in Lebanon visiting my family. I catch up on my music news. I'm like whatever, scrolling. There's an article from last week that's like Elektra Music Group and Elektra and Fueled by Ramen coming together to form Elektra Music Group with Greg, my now contractually assigned boss, and this other man, Mike Easterlin, on the cover. And I was like, what is this? So I text Greg or like call Greg or whatever. Hey, like, first of all, congratulations. Because it looks like you just got a big fat promotion, but also, are we good? Like, he goes, no, like, I mean, tell you, I just couldn't, you know, obviously, but, you know, I hope you're a Fueled by Ramen fan. I was like, it's only like everything I've ever loved in my entire life. And suddenly that comment of like, I'm going to need that made sense, right? Because now we're our own label and we're separate from Atlantic and our roster is a majority alternative, with our biggest acts becoming 21 Pilots, Brandy Carlisle, and Panic at the Disco all at once, right? And still Ed, who kind of sits and straddles both places. But yeah, it just felt like there was this clear, honestly, lane for me to bring in young talent in the more pop centered space, whatever that means. When I say pop, I don't want to mean like bubblegum. I mean like people who want to become, you know, like become
You're
that.
I get you.
All right, the last clip is with my dude, Mike Koziel, who is a director of photography, the co-founder of Last Good Film Lab and Era Studios in Los Angeles, and an overall rad human being. If you haven't seen his work, go look it up. He is remarkably good at everything that he does. There's a certain feeling, a certain look that he gets out of every project that he does. It's one of those people that I just see his work instantly and I'm like, damn, I wish I could be on that level, but I'm very inspired by it. And in this clip, we talk about how he constantly gets inspiration and what he does to find it when maybe he doesn't have it right out the rip. So again, I think this is a little clip that would be very helpful for anyone in any creative field. So let's go.
How do you, as a creator, find inspiration? Like, where does that come from? Where do you continuously push and evolve and like look to be inspired to make your own thing?
I have like specific idols and creators who I greatly respect. And I like, I'm a huge fan of Euphoria. Like Marcel Rev, the DP, is incredible, an incredible artist and like a painter with light. And like every time a new episode comes out, I just like get sucked into his like ability to film with like film and like the lighting and the way he chooses camera movement. Like that stuff gets me so anxious to go create. And like just seeing work that I resonate with. And like the opposite of that though has been like living life, you know, like going rock climbing, like going driving, like being alone at night on the highway. Like shit like that gets the gears going. Like I can sit in front of a computer and be like, you have to do this right now. And like get a coffee and like force it. But like you can't do that all the time. You know, like I see a lot of like there's a lot more like mental health awareness nowadays. And like I see a lot of like motivational posts on IG where it's like creatives need to take breaks. Like you can't, like the grind set isn't a flex anymore. Dude. It's like I feel bad for people who are like stuck in the grind set. Because like, yo, you're like not, like I think the best filmmakers and storytellers gain experience through living life. you know?
Wow.
So like if you're not living life in addition to creating, then like your work is sort of artificial and like forced.
It'll fall into a template, right? It'll fall into like you at one point innovated and did something, and now you have carved out a pattern and you have no longer innovated that because you haven't taken the time to evolve that.
Yeah.
You come into a grind set and now you have made a copy paste template.
Yeah.
And
Like I need to do this because I need the money, or like I need to do this because like I need the clout, or like
yeah,
all of that. And it's like, yo, I'm going to actually turn that job down because like I want to go snowboarding tomorrow, because that's going to like do a lot for me, like feeling good about like not stressing about certain shit. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So like weirdly enough, like it doesn't make sense on paper, but like living life has made working hard a lot easier because there's like a reward. Like
yeah.
this big Toyota job that me and Eric did, like we spent 4 days locked in a room together, not at like the whole time, but like locking ourselves in, getting the creative down, making the shot list, making the budget work, scouting locations, hiring the crew. Now we're doing VFX. We're like, you know, on all these conference calls with the client and all that. And the moment it's done and released, like, I don't think we should just hop right onto another big one. Like we should take a day off and go snowboarding, or like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
reward ourselves with a job well done. Kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like decompress
Yeah.
and then dive back into it.
Yeah.
And I think that rotation is how you make your best work, because you like live life in between the grind. And some people might like get high off of the grind set. So like, I'm not going to tell you it's wrong.
Yeah.
I just don't really agree with that way of working anymore.
But I personally, I really love what you say and I resonate with that. And like, I think the micro version of that is like great shower thoughts, right? Like sometimes you have the best ideas when you finally are just like taking a second, like fucking just in the shower,
dude,
and you're
the shower
thinking,
is like such a zen moment.
right?
For
But
me.
the taking a break is the bigger version
Yeah.
of that, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes you need that day or week or whatever.
Like don't guilt trip yourself if you want to like play Halo for a few hours.
Yeah.
You know, like
yeah.
don't do it for 3 days straight and miss your deadline. But like you've been locked in for 8 hours and you want to spend an hour or two just like chilling out, like do it, you know?
Yeah. Or like, I just, everything you're saying there is so cool, because I love taking myself out of my like current surroundings and just seeing other people exist or do whatever they're doing. Like you can find inspiration in the craziest things if you're just chilling, not
real.
looking for it.
For real, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Damn, that's cool that you're so aware of that. That's
I'm trying
to
to be more aware.
Yeah.
Trying.
Yeah.
You know, it's all a work in progress. Like
Right.
life is a work in progress, you know, like something might change tomorrow and we got to like figure it out. That was a little broad, but like, you know what I mean?
All right, there we go. Another best of episode done and in the books. If you do like this format, definitely let me know if you have suggestions on other things we could add to it. Myself and my incredible producer, Deanna, are always trying to tweak and perfect this. So I'm all ears and always open to hear from y'all. I'll be back next week with another episode. If you want to help the podcast and go above and beyond, simply sharing it with a friend anywhere, be it social media, sending them a text, or rating and reviewing the podcast yourself, it's all massively helpful. And now with that, we're good. And I'll be back next week. Later.